So we'll wrap that up and we will move on to the main event. The King at 168. Canelo Álvarez defending all his belts versus the IBF champion at 168, William Scull. Scull, we talked about it before the fight, really good size, Cuban, got the Cuban pedigree and amateur background, and he made it a stinker. He was, as some would say, running all night, but he was on his bicycle. He was boxing, trying to pick his spots, fight from the outside, and then tying up Canelo on the inside. And Canelo was the aggressor, trying to come forward, trying to cut off the ring. We just didn't get the exchanges. We didn't get the action. I thought this fight was much closer than the 119-109 scorecard that was turned in. In the end, Canelo wins a unanimous decision. What'd you think of this one?
I think Canelo has to take some blame too. It was a stinker. Yeah, Scull, he didn't fight so much to win as he did to survive and steal the fight. And he fought that way. And look, let's put things in proper perspective and not get drunk and intoxicated here with the Kool-Aid of Canelo only. Because it's easy to be on the side of Canelo. And I get you. I'm okay. The other guy did run. The other guy did fight to survive. We've seen other fighters fight similar to this and still win fights.
Devin Haney.
We've, not maybe to this extreme, but yeah, we've seen guys probably could use other examples, maybe even more so than Haney, but we have seen guys.
Well, I'm saying the movement of Haney was very similar on Friday to the movement of Scull.
Yeah, but Haney came back, did a little more offense. Look, I don't deny that you had Scull in there with the kind of style he had, where he thought his best chance to win was to fight this way, to run, to pot shot, to make it anything but an exciting fight. But in his mind, a fight that gave him a chance to win against a more powerful fighter, the stronger puncher, the better fighter, and a good counter puncher. So he was a little worried about getting counted. So he really, he just brought his bicycle. And he had, I think we should have been forewarned when he got in the ring with track shoes on instead of boxing shoes. That should have probably gave us a warning of tonight might not be an Oscar-winning performance, of really a great Broadway phenomena that's taken place that people are going to bring the house down to see. But in all seriousness, we have seen fights. We have where guys have moved, guys have pot-shotted, guys have played it safe, even very safe. And they've either won a fight or we didn't give them quite the bad review that we're going to give Scull. And I'm not saying it's not justified, but when other people have done it and it wasn't done against somebody who's a superstar, somebody who's beloved, somebody who's the king of boxing pay-per-view and the face of boxing, we didn't get quite as mad. We didn't get quite as up in arms. We actually sometimes said he fought a smart fight. But when he didn't fight the kind of fight to make it an entertaining fight against our guy, against the popular Canelo, again, the king, so to speak, then we completely attacked the guy. So I think that's got to be looked at a little bit, to be fair. I thought the fight was close. I thought the 119 score, 118 score, whatever the frick that judge was, that was just, he made up his scorecard before he left the hotel. I mean, he had Canelo going to win come high water, tide or high water, whatever that saying is. He had Canelo going to win. The other ones, 115, 113, all right. I know people are they're going to crucify me for this, but if I'm nothing else, I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to say what I believe, even when hard rain's going to come with it. Sometimes, with the rain, you got to deal with the mud. You got to deal with the mud. And I'm going to deal with the mud because I know mud's going to come with this. I could see even giving it to him. I could see the possibility of either being a draw or a 1-point win. Yeah, go ahead. Here comes the rain, the mud, everything else. A 1-point win for Scull. Teddy, who would you have given it to? I'm not saying I would have gave it to Scull. I'm just saying I wouldn't have been really shocked. I would have been shocked because I knew there's no way that Canelo's going to lose a fight there in these situations. They're not going to give it to anyone other than Canelo. That would have shocked me. But I wouldn't have been, in my mind, shocked that Scull could have earned a 1-point win or a draw. Now, at the end of the day, I have no problem with Canelo getting it. No problem. I could see Canelo. I maybe myself might, if I wanted to torture myself and watch the fight again, which I don't want to do right now. But if I did, I might even give it to Canelo by a point or two. I could see it either way. What I see mostly is that if technically Scull won, which I think there's a possibility he did, if we take our emotion out of it. Our emotion of being angry, that was a stinker fight, that he didn't fight with bravado. He didn't fight the way we want him to fight, especially to take a title from the king, that he didn't do that. He didn't represent himself like a fighter, all of that stuff. If you put that aside, and I'm not saying I don't understand that, but if you put it aside, and you just look at it in a cold way, I could see technically the reason that you could look at Scull to get it. But having said that, I wouldn't give it to him because I thought he lost the right to complain about being robbed. I thought it was the kind of situation where technically he could make an argument. I thought I did this. I thought I did that. I thought I squeaked it out. And at the end of the day, you lose the right to argue. You lose the right to complain. You lose the right to get us to be on your side and feel bad for you. You lose the right to cry because of the way you went about it, the way you behaved. You didn't behave the way we want to see a guy behave in order to take a title. Not to even mention to take a title from a guy like this. You lost your right to complain. And at the end of the day, you do have to look at Canelo and say, okay, Scull is guilty of everything I just said, of fighting this ultra-defensive fight. But Canelo doesn't get a pass for not doing more. It still could have done more. He could have used the jab more. He could have closed the gap with 2 jabs and closed the gap. He could have jabbed to the chest of Scull. He's an experienced guy with over 60 fights, champion of many divisions, tremendous fighter. He knew that he could have done that. Why didn't he do that? He could have went to the body more. I know the guy was running, but tell me if I'm right or wrong, bud. In a couple spots, and it was only a few spots, where Canelo did what you would want him to do, what you thought he would do, what you thought he should do. When he doubled the jab and threw to the body, he got there. But he didn't stay there. Yeah, I know the guy skirted off the guy, but he got there. And it looked like he could have followed him. It looked like he could have continued. But he didn't. He broke it off. He was satisfied. He stopped. He said, I did enough. I'm going to ask a question. Canelo 5 years ago. The same thing I said about the other. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, baby. Same thing I said with the other guys, right? And breaking those fights down. If that's a Canelo 10 years ago, 7 years ago, I know that he's young and all, but that's not, does he not put more of an effort forward? Does he not fight with more urgency? He didn't fight with any urgency. Does he not fight with more fire? He didn't fight with any fire. Does he not try a little bit more because he is not quite as comfortable in his position in life as being anointed a great fighter? Not just the money, that he knows that no matter what, he's going to be thought of as a great fighter, a Mexican legend, a Hall of Famer, one of the greats of all time in the Mexican lineage of great fighters. If he hadn't quite gotten to that place yet, and he still had that in front of him, do you think he might have put forward a little bit more of an effort, even if he got a little reckless? I think he would have, because he would have had more of a reason to fight with some urgency. With all the money he's made, with all the praise that he has, with all the positions he's been put in, he doesn't really have to do that. And he fought like a guy who didn't have to do that. That's the only thing I can come up with. There's nothing else. It wasn't like he couldn't do it. Or one other. Father Time visited him, and he got old. There's nothing else. He got old. He's made so much money that he's not hungry anymore, that there was no urgency, like I said earlier with some of the other fights, that there was no reason to take a chance, to get reckless, to maybe look bad where he might have missed something. There was no reason for any of that. Or one other thing. As long as I got the Mexican fans ready to go nuts, let me finish the job. Let me finish it, okay? Or he's overrated. So you pick your pick. You pick your pick. I know what's coming. It's fine. You look for rain, you got to deal with the mud. Okay, fine. But it's got to be one of those things. I'm going to say it's just that at this point in his life, with all the money he's made, all the success, all the accolades, the placement that he's been put by people, that there is no threat to him. There is no urgency to him to have to go and do that. He could just do what he did. Put his shoulders up, go like this. You know, when Scull didn't engage him and didn't fight the kind of fight that we wanted, the kind of fight he wanted, he didn't go and track him down. That was beneath him. He didn't need to do that. No, I'm Canelo. Why am I going to do that? Why am I going to go and bust my butt and maybe look bad or whatever? Why am I going to do that? No, I don't have to do that. 7 years ago, he might have had to do that.
Yeah, no question. That's a great take. 34 years old, Canelo is now. And I also thought maybe the payday of Crawford lingering for September, and I don't know what it's going to be, but $100 million plus. He's made a lot of money. He's never made that for one fight. Maybe you take less chances because you don't want to take the risk and lose that payday next.
And you know you don't have to take the risk because you know they're not taking the fight away. See, that's the difference, but I'm so glad you brought that up. Because some years ago, before he was secure in this dome, this bubble, this protective cocoon, he's Canelo. You know, before that, he would have had to take a risk for the exact opposite reason of what you're talking about, that he might have blown that fight. I better get after this guy. I might blow that Crawford fight. He knew he wasn't going to blow it. He knew they weren't going to take the fight from him there. So he knew he didn't have to do that. And look, people don't like it. Too bad. Get over it. Because I'm speaking things to truth. Of course I'm not in his head. Of course I'm not in the ring. Of course I'm not in his body. But he either got old, he doesn't care no more, or, you know, and there's no fire, there's no urgency, or he's overrated. And I'm not saying he's that. I'm just saying that it didn't matter enough to go and do what he had to do. It didn't matter enough. And you're going to tell me, and I'll finish with this, you're going to tell me he couldn't do the things, and I named 4 things that, bang, would have probably gotten to Scull. Double the jab up. When you fight a guy who's keeping range, you don't throw 1. You throw 2, it closes you in. Double the jab up, jab to his chest, stop his rhythm. Stop his movement. Stabilize him. Stabilize his movement. Use the jab to get closer. Go to the body. Take air out of the tires. Slow him down a little bit. Cut the ring off. Force him one way. Maybe you throw a left hook just to make a move to your right, and then step to your right and meet him with a right hand. Move him into punches. Close the gap. Fight with intensity. Throw punches. That's a good one to start with right there. Just throw punches. How's that? How's that one? Forget about all the other ones. You can feint a little bit. Feint. Make a move. Make a premature move. And then track them down. Know where you have to go. But how about just throw some damn punches?
That would help. That would be a start. And someone tells me he'll never be fighting at 6 a.m. again, which it was local time there in Saudi
He looked
Arabia.
sleepy. He did look sleepy. But the other guy was fighting at the same time.
No excuses. He's a pro. The last thing I will say with this is I was cracking up during Canelo's post-fight interview. He was frustrated. He said, this guy didn't want to fight. He just wanted to run. That's why I hate fighting these kind of style of fighters. Then go fight David Benavidez, who is not going to run.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Again, I'm proud of you. You just, I'm serious. Because, some people say, oh, you did this, you took a shot. And you didn't take a shot. You took a shot at being honest, at saying the obvious, saying the truth.
Well, that's a fight everybody wants to see.
You can't have it both ways. That's what you just did. You just caught him on. You want to say that you shouldn't fight guy, or you hate fighting guys like this that run. Well, you had the option, the choice to fight a guy who don't run, a guy named David Benavidez, and you chose not to. Okay, so please, again, you can't have it both ways. If you're going to make a statement like that, you know what? You should get called on it. But of course, those people aren't going to call him on it. I mean, they're all obviously working towards the same thing. Right. They want to keep their jobs, and obviously they don't want to knock the king. They don't want to knock the guy that is part of the butter on their bread. Everybody wants Canelo to get to that Crawford fight. We understand that, and I want it too. We understand that, but at the same time, if you were not being controlled by not wanting to say some of the truths because you're a company man or whatever, and you're afraid to say certain things, so you have to say things that make that make everyone happy. That obviously what you should and shouldn't say, but to me, what you should and shouldn't say should only be controlled by what you think the truth is. That's all. And you would have loved somebody to say what you just said. To just say, as soon as he said that. But that would have been a problem. I get it. It takes guts to do that. It's hard to do that. I get it. It's very hard to do.
Where's Larry Merchant when you need him?
Yeah, where's Larry Merchant? Because Larry would have said, David Benavidez would have definitely not run from you. Yeah. Why did you not choose him?
And Jim Gray and others, but no, I'm with you, bud. And with that being said, September 14th, Las Vegas, Nevada, Crawford, Canelo. It's on. You said it before this fight. You did a preview that's out there. We're going to circle back and do some more. You liked and favored Terrence Crawford heading in. And after watching this, I think a lot more people might be changing their minds, or Vegas might be changing that line.